Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about vCenter Deep Dive Troubleshooting, and this is our part 2. And our key concept for today's session is vCenter Server High Availability. Here is the agenda. What are the different ways we can back up data and systems, and how do we restore vCenter server from an image based backup, and software defined data center SDDC troubleshooting scenarios, and why high availability is important for vCenter server, and what is the differences between VCHA, vCenter high availability, and Microsoft Windows Server failover cluster. Before going to the vCenter high availability information and architecture, these are all are the key concepts and also the basic fundamentals to understand. And then we can understand the vCenter server high availability architecture and how do we troubleshoot vCenter server high availability issues, and what are the VCHA cluster mode operation, and how do we validate the VCHA configuration, and finally we can understand the what are the benefits of a vCenter server high availability. Okay, so let's start with the first question now. What are the different ways we can back up data and systems? This point we can talk about, we already discussed in our previous session. Just quickly recap, because this is important basic point. It will be helpful not only for vCenter server perspective, all our infrastructure, we should know about how we are maintaining the different types of backups in our IT infrastructures. So there are three types of backup mostly used, and that is image level backup, volume level backup, file level backup. First point is image level backup. Generally, image level backup means it's a kind of full system backup. Even in our vCenter perspective, if you want to take the backup, the complete virtual appliances, that means it consists of OS, database, and application. All the complete image backup is considered as a image level backup. And volume level backup. Volume level backup is nothing but we are specifically focused on the operating system volumes. Whatever the directories we have in our vCenter server, all the directories backup we can take. Suppose in a Windows operating system, if you want to take volume level backup, means it's in our OS operating system level, C drive, D drive, E, and so on. All the drives backup. For Linux operating system, we are taking the all directories backup like /boot, /home, /root, /opt, all the partition, all the directories we have to take the backup. And file level backup. File level backup is nothing but a specific to the application level files or user related files or project related files and folders. Suppose file level backup, one example in our application level is, if you are using a Windows vCenter server, or sorry, Windows application server, that is a SQL application. And if you want to take the SQL application backup, that first to our SQL DB administrators, they will make the backup to the locally onto the operating system. Once they back up the SQL backup to our operating system, that file, specific DB backup file, we can take it to our backup tool. That is nothing but a file level backup. So this is the three scenarios. Even for a vCenter also, in our real-time scenario, it depends on our customers' recommendation and our internal management team approvals. We can choose any of the one method, either image level backup, volume level backup, or file level backup. But as a vSphere technical consultant, we should know what type of backup we are using in our environment. In case of any vCenter server unexpectedly down, we are unable to resolve the vCenter server issue. Normally, the final solution will be restoring our vCenter server from the existing backup. If your backup is image level backup, you can able to restore the full vCenter server restore. If you are using volume level or file level type backup, only recommendation is first you can prepare a new vCenter server first, and then you can map your existing backup file, either volume level or file level backup files. You can use those files to restore it to the new vCenter server appliance. So within these methods, we can perform the restoration. Because these methods are important when you are unable to troubleshoot your vCenter server level operating system level issues, final solution, we should go for a restoration option. So during the restoration, we should be aware which method we are choosing. Even in the interview perspective, interviewer also may ask, your vCenter server is completely down, we are unable to restore, unable to resolve it properly. So that scenario, they may ask how you can restore and what is the methods you prefer to restore. That scenario, you can explain these options. Okay. So let's understand the description of image level backup. Backup the entire system image for fast recovery on any level. Okay, and the deleted temporary and page files are automatically excluded from the image to reduce the backup size. This is applicable for normally the Windows operating system. Any temporary page file means for our Linux operating systems or virtual appliances, we consider as a swap files. Swap files, another name is page files. So deleted temporary and page files are automatically excluded from the image to reduce the backup size. That is one condition when we are taking a image level backup. And these are three options available in all the third party backup tools. Okay, by default. So this is the image level backup information. Now let's talk about the volume level backup. Volume level backup means backup images of specific volumes. For example, only data drives. Only data drives means some scenarios we will not prefer to take the OS level backup to save your data backup size. And deleted temporary and page files are automatically excluded from the image to reduce the backup size. Same like image level, even volume level also, we can exclude these options to save our backup size. And the third one, file level backup. Even in the file level backup, backup selected files and directories only. Okay, we are not taking the complete drive also, only the files and specific directories or folders only. This mode still produces an image backup, but only with the protected file systems objects included in the image. This means in our image level backup and volume level backup, we are excluding the temporary and page files. Those files, whatever we excluded in the image level, that option, that protected files, still we can take the backup in file level backup. Okay, this is the basic fundamental point, what type of backups we have and in which methods we can restore. If you take the backup, our vCenter server backup in any scenario, while restoration, you can apply any of the specific scenario. And specific to the interview perspective, if your interviewer asks for the restoration, whatever the procedure your organization is following, same procedure you can explain in the interview. Normally, the initial troubleshooting, it starts with a when the vCenter server is hang or vCenter server disk is full. We can attend with some initial troubleshooting steps like restart the vCenter service and clean up the vCenter server database file system, specific file system partitions, and also try to reboot the vCenter server. These three scenarios, most of the time it may resolve the issue, but if your vCenter server is unable to resolve with all the troubleshooting options, then the final recommendation is restoration. So during the restoration, any one method you can explain in the interview. Okay, and whatever we are talking about all these points, it's not only for interview perspective, it will also helpful for customer conversations and in our internal meetings perspective also. Okay, now how do we restore vCenter server from an image level backup? For an example, I'm just showing you one method, the similar method applicable for volume level and also the file level. So how do we restore vCenter server from an imaged backup? So image based backup means first begin with a vCenter restore. We already decided that we tried multiple troubleshooting options. We restarted the vCenter. Somehow our vCenter got corrupted. We are unable to bring up the vCenter server. So we decided to restore. So restoration method, begin a vCenter server restore, all the preparation work we have to do and which data store we are going to restore and what time we can initiate. In general, in the organization, they may have some different approval process for restoration. Just follow those approval process. That is only considered as a begin a vCenter restore. And then shut down the vCenter instances. Whatever the affected vCenter, that affected vCenter, make it as a shutdown. You can power off and uncheck the network cards. That is the second step. And third step is restore the vCenter instance. So during the restore, whatever backup tool you are using, for example, if you are using a Veeam backup or Veritas Net backup, or if you are using a Commvault, any of the third party tool, whatever the backup tool you are using, you can mention in the interview the specific backup tool, log into the backup tool, and we can initiate the restoration. In general, during the restoration, we should also involve the backup team. So backup team will help us to initiate the restoration. Once the restoration is initiated, depends on our vCenter size. Like vCenter may have small size, medium, like t-shirt sizing. Some scenarios, if your vCenter is a large size, it may take some time to complete the restoration. So that restoration time we can update to the management and also the customer. Once the restoration is completed, we have to perform the post vCenter restore actions. So all these steps one by one you can explain in the interview also. So this is the high level overview how we can restore the vCenter server from an image based backup. And that is the end of the restore. So here is some key points. We can use a third-party product to restore a vCenter server environment and restore the vCenter server virtual machine onto the ESXi host using a third-party solution. Once the restoration is completed, as part of the post vCenter restore action, we have to verify that all vCenter services are back to started state or not. Like you can use the command service hyphen control hyphen hyphen status space hyphen hyphen all. When you type this command will help you to verify all your vCenter service are started or not. And some scenarios, it may take some time to bring up all the services, same like our Linux operating system and Windows operating system. Even our vCenter virtual appliances also may take some time to start all the services. We have to verify using this command, and once all services started, some scenarios it may take several minutes also because it's a freshly restored, so it may take some time to bring up all the services. We have to wait for a few minutes. Once all the services are up, log into the vCenter server management interface. Management interface means it's, we can also call it as VAMI interface, VAMI, Virtual vCenter Appliance Management Interface. That VAMI interface, you can just type the HTTPS, your vCenter server IP address and port number 5480. When you type this vCenter VAMI interface, IP address, and port number, it will show you the vCenter server dashboard. And make sure that our vCenter dashboard should be healthy state. And what to do next? In general, what to do next is we can verify power on restored VM that contains the restore vCenter server instance. We can just power on the VM and also validate. We already validated the health status, and we should also verify that all the connections are established normally and all the clusters, health status, host, and virtual machine status from the vCenter level. If you encounter any of the warnings, we can also do the further troubleshooting. Okay, and this service verification and WAMI page, let quickly log into our lab system and I will show you. Okay, I just connected to our lab system. We'll quickly verify our AD server is up, ESX1, 2, 3, and vCenter all are up only. Okay, let's open the browser and log into our vCenter server. Currently, our vCenter server is working fine. There is no issues, but I will show you the options how we can validate the health status. If you want to verify the health status, let's say go to the menu, and if you select the home page, even in the home page, you can see the vCenter server complete dashboard. You can see the CPU status, memory status, storage status, and all are showing as a green color. That means healthy state, and how many VMs, how many ESXi hosts, and if you have any plugins and all. Generally, most warnings and alerts you can see from this vCenter dashboard. This is one method to verify the vCenter health status. Another method, as I mentioned, we can log into the WAMI page. So you can type vCenter server IP address or host name and type the port number 5480. Once we type the port number 5480 and log into the vCenter server with the root and password, And within this home page, WAMI page also, we can see the summary tab. Right side, you can see our vCenter server name and also the version and health status page. Within this health status page, we can see overall health for vCenter server is good. These options we need to validate once the restoration is completed. And suppose in case of any warnings like CPU having warning, sometime once the restoration complete, initial time it may take some time to CPU and memory resources. It may show some warning and it may take some time to change the status from warning to good. That means it's a normal state. And we make sure that CPU, memory, database, storage, swap, all should be in a healthy state. Okay. And these same steps we can also verify graphically services tab. All services should be verified. All automatic services should be healthy and started state. This is the graphical level verification. If you want to verify the same thing from the command line, you can also have an ID on command 192.168.10. We can type the vCenter server IP 70. Once we log into vCenter server, enter the login credentials. Let me increase the font. Okay, so we can, it's in the command prompt. Just type the shell to launch the shell access to our vCenter server and type the command to verify the services service hyphen control space hyphen hyphen status space hyphen hyphen all. This is the command we discussed in our slide. So once you type this command, if you, it will shows all the service status. Let me scroll down. Yeah, now you can see currently running state. These all the vCenter service are in a running state. And there are some stopped commands also like vcam, VMware image builder, because we are not using these services. And even if you see VMware VCHA, vCenter high availability service also stop state. That means VCHA is not yet configured in our vCenter server. Okay, but main services are started. That is how, that is the reason our health status is showing as healthy state. Okay, and even if you have any service level issue, if you want to restart, stop and start, we can use the same command service hyphen control. For stop, you can use stop command, and start you can use instead of status, you can just mention as hyphen hyphen stop to stop the services. If you want to start, hyphen hyphen start space hyphen hyphen all is common. Just change the word from status to stop or start, or if you want to restart the services, you can type the command hyphen hyphen status. Instead of status, you can type restart. This will help you to restart all our vCenter services. But in general, for vCenter troubleshooting scenario, some issues may resolve with restarting the vCenter services, but some scenarios it may not resolve. Restarting services, it may not resolve with the restarting the vCenter server. And even your disk space, suppose some cases there may be a disk partition is full. Currently if you see in our vCenter server, all the partitions have enough free space. All are below the 30% usage. But some cases, if any partition, generally most common repeated issue is slash storage.log. This log may full frequently. When this partition is full also, our vCenter server may affected with hung state. During that time, you can just change your directory to this path and clean up the old logs. That is also one method to troubleshoot. But some cases, it may not help after restarting vCenter service and clean up your vCenter server. All the drives also enough space, but still vCenter may encounter with a unexpected issues, and this may cause due to some external factors. Some factors may related to SSL certificate issue, some may related to any vCenter plugin related issue, or some compatible issues. It's suppose if you are decided that it may taking longer time to resolve this issue, finally common solution for the this type of scenarios is we can go over a restoration. But restoration, we should know which backup tool we are using in our environment, we can talk to our backup team, and we can ask that this vCenter have which type of backup. Is it a full image backup, or file based or volume based backup? Whatever backup they are using. Suppose our backup team is saying that they are using a image level backup. It's easy to restore. We can just shut down and power off our vCenter server. We can just log into, instead of log into vCenter during the restoration, connect to the specific ESXi host on which ESXi host our vCenter server is running, log into the specific ESXi host, and then shut down our vCenter server and inform to our backup team to restore the vCenter server. And usually restoration may take some time. Once the restoration is complete, you can just validate all the settings and bring up the VM. Once the VM is powered on, log into the VAMI page, verify all services are up and running. Either you can verify from graphical interface, or you can verify from the command line interface. Any method you can use. This is the way we can explain to the interviewer. And even this conversation, even if your internal management team or customers also will ask, how do you resolve the vCenter server issue? And that scenario also you can explain the same procedure. Okay. Now let's back to the slide. Hope we understand the image level restoration, the similar procedure for file level restoration. But remember that for file level restoration or volume based restoration, only thing is, before when we inform to the backup team our vCenter server is completely down, we are planning to restore. But for volume level and file level restoration scenario, remember that we need to prepare a new vCenter server first. Once ready with the new vCenter server, it's like there is no configuration detail because it's a new setup. Once that is ready, and then we can ask the backup team to restore all the volumes or files to the our new vCenter server. That is another method. Okay, so whatever method you follow, this is how we can do the restoration. But image based restoration is like a bit faster, and we no need to involve the again additional steps to create a new vCenter. So normally the preferred method is always go with a vCenter server image based backup instead of volume and file level backup. But some scenarios, some organization may prefer to choose file level, so that is a customer's choice. There during that scenario, how we can take the backup is from the VAMI page, go to the backup tab. Here we can see the what is our backup configurations. When you click on configure, we can see backup location is, it should be a some of the data store or some of the our backup server appliance locations, and we have to provide the backup server credentials, and we need to schedule it for daily. And if there is any specific passwords for encryption, this is optional only. If you want to keep, you can keep the passwords, and DB health check. These are all the options we need to enable for the backup schedule. This is the how we can take the configure the backup schedule, and activity status we can find from the screen. And even in the VMware clearly says that before backing up, backup server must be set up and configured such as vCenter server access to it. Our vCenter server needs to be added to our backup console. And the protocol supported for backup is, there are multiple protocols like FTPS and HTTPS, SFTP, secure file transfer protocol, NFS, SMB, and HTTP. Any of the protocol we can use to take your vCenter server appliance backup. Okay. And while taking the backup, you can choose any method like image based, volume based, or file based. But recommendation from VMware is always go with the image based backup. But some scenarios, customers may choose to save your backup sizes. They may go with a file and volume based backups. But whatever the scenario, we should be aware how to restore. Okay. So hope you got the restoration scenario. Let's back to the another point. Software defined data center troubleshooting scenarios. This is one of the important concept. So software defined data center, as we aware, in our virtualization, there are multiple virtualizations are evolved these days, and every organization also, they are into the transformational journey of their private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and multi-cloud. But whatever it is, but in the organization nowadays, it software defined data center becomes a common every organization infrastructure. Let's understand the high level overview. Concept is, when it comes to the server virtualization concept, we know the most leading provider of server virtualization is Vsphere. This Vsphere product consists of ESXi and vCenter. Today we are focusing on a vCenter server, how we can protect the vCenter server, and we can need to understand the vCenter server deep dive troubleshooting. Before going to the deep dive troubleshooting scenarios, let's understand what are the main core concepts available in our software defined data center and what is a commonly used products, and then we'll jump into the troubleshooting scenarios. Okay. See, the second concept is network virtualization. We have a physical resources like physical server, physical network devices, and we also have one popular concept is network virtualization, and the product for network virtualization is NSXT. Okay, network hypervisor transformers. And another name for NSXT is network virtualization security platform. Okay, so that is called NSX, and the latest version of NSX is NSXT transformer. This NSXT is a independent product. You can run either on premises, or you can run on a bare metal hardware. You can run on private cloud, public cloud, anywhere, any cloud you can run the NSXT. That is the flexibility of NSXT. Another one, storage virtualization concept. Even for storage virtualization, we have VMware official concept is product is vSAN, virtual SAN. But even when we are having conversations with customer, when we are planning to implement in our SDDC, vSphere, NSXT and vSAN, it should be a different license. vSphere separate license, even within the vSphere ESX have separate license, vCenter product have a separate license, NSXT separate license, and similarly we need to take a separate license for virtual SAN. Okay, that is the most of the time these combinations are most popular in our organization, but some organization they may also their transformational journey of private and public, as part of that they will also implement the application modernization. For application modernization, nowadays the booming product is Tanju. Tanju is like a enterprise Kubernetes platform, so organization may use their flexibility to use any third party tool. Here I'm just highlighting the VMware enterprise Kubernetes platform, that is vSphere with Tanju. You can use vSphere with Tanju, or you can use VCF with Tanju. Any combination we can use, but the core product is Tanju only. Okay, and the desktop virtualization. Nowadays desktop virtualization also booming. For desktop virtualization, we can use the VMware product is VMware Horizon. Horizon is mainly for a desktop virtualization concept, and like a VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure. Some organization along with the server network storage virtualization, they will also use desktop virtualization. So these are all the core concepts and also the specific product names. And I'm highlighting specific to the VMware products, and there will be some competitive products also. For example, if you are seeing a storage virtualization vSAN, we also have competitive product Nutanix Acropolis hypervisor. Nutanix Acropolis operating system AOS we can use for a storage virtualization. And even for a ESXi competitive product from Nutanix is Nutanix AHV Acropolis hypervisor, and Microsoft competitive product is Microsoft Hyper-V. Okay, and NSXT, even Nutanix also have a network virtualization product. You can use either network NSX Nutanix Flow, or we can use VMware NSXT. And application virtualization Tanju, even for Tanju also we have some so many competitive products, like we can use Red Hat OpenShift or SUSE Rancher, or even public cloud containers also we have like AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service, or we can use a EKS like AWS Elastic Kubernetes Service and Google Kubernetes Engine. So many options are available, but this and all at the end of the day it's subjected to be customers decision. Based on our organization and also the customer's decision, we can choose the specific product. But as in a technical consultant, we should know what is the concepts we are using, what are the products are using in our IT infrastructure. In case of any issues occur in our vCenter level, we should be aware of all the integration products. Okay, now whatever product we are using in our software defined data center, to monitor all your virtual infrastructure, server, network, storage, application, and desktop, we should also learn about the monitoring concept. So monitoring, I'm just giving one example is VMware vRealize Operations Manager. Using vRealize Operations Manager, we can monitor all the equipments, like we can monitor server components, network components, storage, application, and desktop. All it's compatible. Not only VROps, you can also use third-party monitoring tools. But as a technical consultant, we should aware of monitoring knowledge also. Okay, and another concept is automation. Even all your vSphere activities, day to operations, NSXT day to operations, vSAN, application, horizon, and monitoring day to operation, all these day to operations, if you want whatever the task you are performing repeatedly, all those repeated tasks, if you want to automate, we also need a automation product. That automation products from the VMware is vRealize automation and vRealize orchestrators. These tools are helpful to make automate your IT infrastructure repeated activities. In simple terms, day to operations, or we say all repeated activities. Whatever you are keep on repeatedly doing the activity, all those activities we can make it as a automation using VRA and VRO. Example is virtual machine provisioning. Normally, every time we are provisioning the virtual machines, and whenever the customer got a new project, he will ask to prepare a 10 VMs or 20 virtual machine. If you want to do 10 or 20 virtual machine in our vCenter, we need to manually log into vCenter and create multiple times, deploy the VM from template. But instead of doing the task, if you want to automate using VRA and also the vRealize orchestrator workflow, the VM provisioning task can be automated. Okay, and NSXT, even in our NSXT also, we are our customer may request for a multiple firewall rules between web server, application server, and database server. All these firewall rules, sometimes it may have a hundreds of firewall rules. If you want to do manually, it will be a so much tedious job on our NSXT layer. Instead of doing manual tasks, those firewall rule creations and also the logical switches, logical routing, all these concepts, if you want to automate, we can automate using VRA and VRO. But only thing is we need additional licenses for VRA and VRO products, and same applicable for monitoring also. And similarly, vSAN task, even Tanju. Nowadays, containerization is booming, and most of the application users, developers are asking for a container applications. If they want to provision the container application, even for deploying the Tanju Kubernetes clusters, we can deploy Tanju Kubernetes cluster through VRA. We can automatically provision within few minutes or within seconds. Also, we can deploy that much faster. We can do using VRA. But if you want to perform manually using Tanzu Kubernetes grid, it may take a longer time. We have to spend some hours to set up the TKG and TKC, Tanzu Kubernetes clusters. Instead of doing manual, you can use VRE and VRO. It's easy to automate our deployment and also the operation activities. And same applicable to desktop virtualization as well. And let's move on to another concept, and BCP and disaster recovery. Every organization backup, as similar as backup, we should also maintain a annual business continuity plan and also the disaster recovery plans. These plans, some organization they maintain for quarterly and half yearly, and most of the organization they maintain a annually once. They do a DR exercises, disaster recovery exercise. For disaster recovery exercises, there are also plenty of products. I'm highlighting one of the VMware product, which is SRM, Site Recovery Manager. This is also important product, and we should be aware as a systems engineer, we should have a knowledge on how we can use the SRM in our organization and what is the importance of SRM. And another key component is LMS. LMS means log management system. It is nothing but a centralized log server. This centralized log servers, normally it will help you to collect all the logs, and here this centralized log server, it will help you to collect all the log files from our server, network storage, and all your SDDC components. Here the example of LMS product is vRealize login set, and another product is backup solution. So backup solution also, in our current market there are plenty of backup tools. Whatever the tool you are using, we should have knowledge on that specific third party tools. For example, we have Veritas Net Backup and Commvault, and we have HPE backups also, HPE data protection, and also we have some other tools. Even VMware also have VMware data protection tool, and we also have some other tools like Rubrik, Cohesity, any of the backup tool, EMC, Networker, IBM Tivoli Storage Manager, and also this. There are so many Spectrum, so many tools are available. But as a cloud consultant, we should know at least one backup tool. This one backup tool knowledge will be help you in the interview perspective. Okay, so these 10 concepts are very important. And before we jump into the troubleshooting scenario, even if you see these concepts, our troubleshooting also involve all these layers. Some let me try to explain one by one. But I am with interest of our time, I'm not cover all scenarios. I will give you the brief idea of all the deep dive troubleshooting scenarios. In our interview perspective, a customer or interviewer may ask so many different kind of scenario. Whatever scenario they ask, but if you have a conceptual knowledge, it's easy to understand and provide a solution. Okay, so one scenario in our virtual vSphere infrastructure, ESX and vCenter server, we know ESX and how to deploy vCenter server, we are aware. And the main core purpose of vSphere is to create the multiple virtual machine. On top of virtual machine, we can run our all business related applications. Even these applications, if you want to maintain a high level security, like providing a distribute firewall and providing a logical networking, logical switching, these all concepts, if you want to implement in your server virtualization, we need to go for a NSXT. That means our vCenter server is the primary management platform. This platform is also integrated with NSXT. Okay, that is the key point here. And similarly, another key point is to store all our vCenter server, all our production virtual machines, and all workloads, it requires a storage. This storage can be, you can use virtual SAN, you can use any other software defined storages, fiber channel SAN, iSCSI SAN, NFS SAN. We have multiple storage technologies, but every organization, they may use multiple storage devices and different type of storage softwares. But as a consultant, we should be aware at least one storage concept, because in the interview scenario you may expect some questions related to the storage, some questions related to the network, and some are really specific to the vSphere questions. Okay, and even troubleshooting perspective also, let's say all of the sudden in your virtual SAN you may have some disk failure. uh, when our virtual SAN having a disk failure issue, there will be no production impact to your vSphere, ESX, and vCenter, but somehow there is a IO latency issues and your disk level performance may be degraded. And you may also get the alert from our monitoring tool says that some of the virtual machines performance may have high CPU or high memory or high disk latency issues. When you receive that alert, we should start troubleshooting whether this alert is related to vCenter level, or it's related to the network layer, or it's related to the storage layer. We have to start the troubleshooting either from top to bottom layer, or bottom to top, or you can start from the middle. Whatever it is, during the troubleshooting scenario, we have to verify whenever we receive the any new alert, we need to verify the start the troubleshooting layer by layer. Even during this systematic approach only, you can explain in the interview. Okay, so that is also one of the scenario, virtual SAN. And another scenario, even nowadays in the application modernization, most of the Tanzu Kubernetes clusters like controller VM, supervisor cluster VM, and also the worker nodes, all are we are deploying on a vCenter server. That means Tanzu also integrated with vSphere, vSphere with Tanzu, but our main core primary management platform is vCenter. Okay, and even let's imagine our vCenter server is down. What will happen? Definitely, whatever the operations you are performing on NSXT, there will be some impact. Even your virtual SAN, if you have a task to increase your vSAN storage, or if you want to perform some vSAN maintenance, without vCenter server, we cannot perform the maintenance. That means vCenter is the heart of the component in our software defined data center. And similarly to Tanzu, even your developer user, they want to deploy some container applications. But if your vCenter server is down, how they will deploy all the applications? So all are correlated with our primary management platform, which is vCenter server. And similarly to our VMware Horizon desktop virtualization as well. Okay, and normally this is the one type of troubleshooting scenarios. We have finally 5 scenarios. We have some issues may related to appliance level. Even in our previous session, we talk about the vCenter server appliance architecture and vCenter server log files and configuration files. We are aware of how to resolve the appliance level troubleshooting and how to analyze the logs and how to verify first boot failed, how to analyze the first boot JSON file configuration review and all we talked about earlier. But in our this session, you can just understand what are all other external factors to become the vCenter server troubleshooting. Some scenario, it may causes with the next network layer issue. It even our logical router have one of the logical router is down. When logical router down means you may affect with your vCenter server virtual machines also have a intermittent disconnection issue. But from our monitoring tool VROPS, it generate alerts that some of the VMs have intermittent disconnections. But during that time, we require a joint troubleshooting along with our network team. We have to validate in our vCenter layer as well as NSX layer. Okay, that is the key point here, and similarly applicable for other layers also. Okay, and now even the another scenario is monitoring. Even monitoring tool, suppose our VROPS realize operations recently, our monitoring team or tools team, they did some upgrade on our VROPS product. They upgraded from 8.1 series or 8.2 series to latest 8. Series. They upgraded the VROPS version. After the upgrade, VROPS upgrade, some scenarios you may affect the VROPS also may not function properly. But same scenario, our vCenter virtual machine, production virtual machines may down. You immediately receive, haven't received the alert, but your customer or interviewer may ask the question. One of my production virtual machine is down, but somehow we haven't received any of the notification. How you identify the clue and how you can rectify the issue and what is your final root cause, how you can provide all the justification to the customer. This is how they will frame the scenario, and we can need to explain this scenario in a systematic way. Like first, the customer issue is our priority. So the first priority is we have to bring up the production VM. So if you want to bring up the production VM, log into the vCenter and validate that is that VM is like a Windows VM or Linux VM. Let's talk about two scenarios. If the VM is a Windows VM and we need to verify the virtual machine, log into the vCenter servers, validate the specific production Windows VM. Is it having any hang issues or blue screen of death issues? And if it is really having a blue screen of death or hung scenario, we can immediately get our internal management approval or customer approval and get the approval and reboot the specific Windows virtual machine. Once you restart that virtual machine and the VM will be back to online and the server also, we may also inform to the customer to verify the health status. Once the customer is come back and says health status is fine, but they want to know the root cause, why the server is down and why we haven't received any alert. And until the customer notify us, we haven't troubleshooted proactively. So customer may ask for the justification. So this all scenario we need to address now. But how we can address is first, for one team you can just vSphere admin, you can just focus on the VM level and why this VM is down. You can collect all the necessary memory dump file and start analyzing the memory dump file. Is it related to any driver issue or any of the some other external factors? That portion we have to do parallelly. And similarly, why we haven't received this alert, that portion we need to engage our monitoring team. We need to validate that is there any issues in the VROPS level and what are the recent changes in our VROPS. If they did the recent maintenance on VROPS and after the maintenance they may have some issues, they may not stop receiving the alerts. So for that reason also they have to do a parallel troubleshooting on VROPS level. We need to rectify the two issues. One issue on vCenter VM level, why it got down. Another scenario is VROPS, why it's not able to send the notification. So these two scenarios, we need to start troubleshooting and provide some clues. These clues only, it will help us to resolve the issue. Let's say one clue for VROPS level is our upgrade is having, after the upgrade, it may have some configuration issue. We have to resolve that configuration issue and so that it starts generating the alerts. That is the one scenario. And second scenario, let's come to the vCenter production virtual machine. This is down due to bliss screen of death, and export the logs. You can try to analyze the logs. Some cases we can analyze ourselves, and some cases we are just sending the memory dump file to the Microsoft team. Microsoft team will help us to find the root cause, and most of the time they will come up with a latest patch, or they may give us like it's a known operating system bug, and you can upgrade your operating system to latest version. This is the solutions we can find in general. So this solution only you can explain in the interview scenario. Okay, so that is how one troubleshooting scenario. Sometime monitoring also have a troubleshooting. Monitoring tool also require a troubleshooting, and it may cause our vSphere, vCenter, VMs as well. Okay, and let's talk about the another scenario. Let's say automation. Even automation also, in order to perform all the automation tasks, our vCenter server must be registered in a VRA level. Suppose vCenter server is down. Whatever the schedule jobs and schedule automation workflows in our VRA, all the workflows also fail because vCenter server is down. So here also again we need to involve the two teams, and vSphere admin have to work, and also automation engineer also have to work parallelly. So developer engineer, when we do joint troubleshooting, it can be sorted clearly. Sometimes there may be a REST API issues, and when you change the any authentication on your vCenter level, when you change the authentication also, we should be updated to all the our track teams. If you miss to update it to the other track, it may also cause the one issue, because you did the change on the password on vCenter level. Some of the service account password you changed, that information we have to update it to the all the tracks. If you miss to update that information, all tracks may have a connectivity issues. Our monitoring stopped receiving the alerts. Even the automation teams stopped doing the all automation jobs. Okay, and another scenario is BCP, Business Continuity Plan and Disaster Recovery. We are using this recovery plan is not only for vSphere, it's applicable for all infrastructure, but we are focusing on vSphere level. During the SRM also, there may be some VMs may be able to restore successfully on the one site to the second site, but some VMs we are unable to replicate properly. During that scenario also, depends on the error message, we can go for a deep dive troubleshooting. Okay, and another scenario is LMS. LMS also one of the important, and this centralized log management server also applicable for all our infrastructure components. But here our main key component is vCenter. All our vCenter server past 6 months data and 1 year and more than 1 year data will be stored on a VRLA login site only, it will store. But the how it is useful in my infrastructure and troubleshooting scenarios. Let's say our vCenter server is hang and down, and it's having some issues. We are able to resolve the vCenter server troubleshooting either using a restart service or vCenter server. If we are unable to resolve, we can restore from the backup. That two scenarios we are aware. But the customer perspective, customer may ask why the vCenter server is down and what is the root cause. But your existing logs, you are unable to find the root cause. Your existing vCenter server available logs, but customers say when this issue was started, and is this issue since last month, or is this issue from this month, and why vCenter server having performance issue, why the vCenter, we may customer may come up with so many questions. But in order to provide the root cause and also the justification for all these questions, we vCenter level logs are not enough. That scenario, we need to approach our security operations team. That security operations team is the responsible to maintain vRealize login site. They will help us to provide the previous logs. Again, our job is to collect the previous logs and analyze and directly pinpoint to when the issue was started. Okay, that scenario we need to understand. Even the interview perspective, interviewer may take that. They may tweak some questions like how the scenario they will give is vCenter is down, we are managed to restart and we can fix the issue. But the customer is not satisfied with the resolving. Customer want to know the justification, because the vCenter restart is every time we are keep on doing. But what is a permanent solution? When this issue was started, I need the root cause immediately. When the customers say these questions and all, and even interviewer say one key point is there is no enough logs in vCenter. But based on this scenario, we need to understand that we can verify our centralized log management server. And you can take one example. I give an example as vRealize login site, but whatever the tool your company is using, like SolarWind Kiwi server or any other third-party tool, you can mention the tool in the interview. We can log into the centralized log management server, and we can export the specific logs for the last month. We will start analyzing from the last month, and based on the timestamp, we can find the clue what causes the vCenter down issue. That is how we can explain. Okay. And another scenario, backup solutions. Even backup solution also not only for vCenter, this backup solution applicable for all our SDDC components. Okay. Here in the backup solution, there are so many third party tool, but as a technical consultant, we should have knowledge on minimally one backup tool. It will be helpful in the troubleshooting scenarios, and which file we need to restore or which image backup we have to restore. We should guide the our backup team also. Okay. And as a vSphere administrator, our responsibility is every day, once the backup is completed, it will send a backup report to all the individual team members. Even this, whatever the concept we are talking here, in general, if your organization is large organization, each concept is maintained by separate team. Monitoring, we have separate team, automation team, and also backup team. In general, they maintain the both backup solution and DR. And security operations team, they maintain the LMS, centralized log servers. And the desktop virtualization, there may be separate team. Developer team will take care of the application virtualization, and the storage may taken care by storage team, and the network team is separate, and server team also separate. If your organization infrastructure size is small and medium, there may be a combination skills, like one vSphere administrator should take care of server and storage, and some teams take care of server and network. Some organization, they maintain application and desktop together, because nowadays most of the organization, they are looking for a cross skills only. So if you have more skills, it will be you can easy to get the better job. Okay. But one skill, that days are gone. Nowadays most of the organizations looking for a multiple skills. But even though if you have a vSphere technical skill, we should be aware of all our software defined data center conceptual knowledge. If you are interested, if you can deep dive into the each concept. Okay. And scenarios also not only related to the appliance level, there will be a multiple layers troubleshooting. Some scenario we need to engage with our other teams also. But one funny thing is, sometimes in companies, when you're working in a production uh, applications or production VMs, if the application server is down, usually every team say, network team say it's not issue on the network layer. When we contact storage team, they say no issue on storage layer. Every time they keep pushing the issues to the vSphere admin only. But we should be stand on that issue, and we need to be collaborate and also work together with all the teams, then only we can find the clues. Sometime there may be issue with the network layer, sometime the issue with storage layer, sometime there may be issue with the automation layer also. So automation may keep running the multiple jobs on our vCenter level. It may causes the vCenter hang also. If that scenarios, we may need to reduce the queue length in our automation level. Some scenario, there may be a backup also, because backup jobs are every day. It's starting around the night after 6 p.m. Unlike after business hours. During the after business hours, at a time 100 VMs backup are started at 8 p.m. At a time 100 VMs coming means your vCenter server is running with a small infrastructure size appliance. Definitely there will be a high network IO on our vCenter server. It may cause the hung. So what is the solution? Again, we need to work collaboratively with our backup team, and we need to inform the backup team to, instead of keep the 100 VMs in a 8 p.m. schedule, why don't we split the schedule? Like 8 p.m. we can start at 20 VMs, and 8 to 10 another 20. Like that we can split the batch by batch. We can schedule the VM backups. That is also one troubleshooting scenario. And same way, even LMS also start collecting the logs, and the same time our security team also maintaining the antivirus scanning. Two jobs at a time running on vCenter means it may also causes the vCenter server high CPU, high memory. So that is how we can start doing the troubleshooting. Even when we have a customer conversation, customer also come up with so many challenges. Once you understand what the challenge they are talking about, they are talking about the automation perspective, or they are talking about security perspective, or they may talk about the monitoring or automation perspective. When it comes to the monitoring perspective, every time one common issue in the monitoring perspective is, as a monitoring team, we have to focus on whether all our software defined data center level is covering the complete layer monitoring. Like it should cover hardware, it should cover the virtualization layer, it should cover application layer and application layer. All four layers must be covered in the monitoring. If any layer is missing, we may not receive the proactive alerting system. If you do not have proactive alerting system, definitely we may breach our SLAs, service level agreements. Okay, so this is the high level overview of software defined data center and all the troubleshooting scenarios. These scenarios we talk about mainly 10 scenarios on each topic. Okay, but one key point here is, for all these products are integrated with our vCenter server, and vCenter server is the primary management platform. Now imagine when the vCenter server is down, what will happen? Definitely there will be impact for all the scenarios. So we should be aware, vCenter should be always available, and we need to provide a high availability. High availability means continuous availability for our vCenter server. That's where our VCHA concept is coming. Okay, I will explain you the VCHA in the following slide. So now it's the time to discuss why high availability is important for vCenter server. As we discussed now, vCenter is like a primary management platform for all our external integrated components. When the vCenter is down, definitely there will be a production impact. That's the reason we need to provide a high availability for vCenter server. So the same point, let me explain you in one brief diagram. So vCenter server appliance, it's our centralized management platform. On top of vCenter server, it will also integrated with our third-party integrations. Like it will integrate with storage provider. Storage provider means we can use either vSAN, we can use any of the external storages, and backup solution. To take the backup of all our vCenter server virtual machines, we need a backup solution. And to maintain the vCenter server for ticketing system, to generate your any of the vCenter alert is comes, to create alerts and all, we require one custom portal. That custom portal example is, we can use either service center tool or service now tool, or we can use the remedy tool. And also, if you are providing a hosting service to your customer, we should be also maintain some costing engine tools. Like we can use like a vRealize business suite, or we can use VROps. VROps also providing some costing information, capacity planning and all. You can do some manual calculations and provide a costing engine, or you can use a third party tools for costing in your hosting services. Okay, these integration products are common in every vCenter server. Along with, if you want to implement network virtualization, NSXT, and if you want to implement the desktop virtualization, VDA is needed. For automation, VRE and VRO, and for monitoring, we need a VROps, and login site, we need a VRLI. For site recovery manager, we need a SRM. SRM will help you to recover in case of one site is down, we can recover it to the secondary site. So for all are integrated with VCSA. So VCSA is the important, and not only for all these products, it's also involved for vSAN and also for a application modernization product Tanjo as well. Now, high availability is an important characteristic for many VMware and third-party solution that depend on the vCenter server as the primary management platform. Okay, and vCenter is the foundation for the virtual desktop infrastructure, and backup and disaster recovery solutions rely on vCenter. And also the another key point is, vCenter must protect itself from hardware and software failures in an environment, and recover transparently from such failures. Okay, and this is also one of the important questions. I remember a few years ago, one of the interview, they asked why high availability is important for vCenter server. That time I was not aware of VCHA concept, and I'm unable to explain clearly. But this question is one of the important question interviewer may ask, but don't confuse with vCenter cluster HA feature. This is for a high availability for vCenter server. So that concept is called VCHA, vCenter high availability. Okay, and the remaining integrated concept and all I given a high overview, just in case if you want to learn in detail of other concepts like VRA, VRO, NSXT, Tango, and backup solution. With interest of our time, I'm not going for deep dive, but if you want to learn, it's in our Gnan Cloud Air channel. Just go to the playlist. I prepared some videos for NSXT and backup solutions, such as modern data protection solutions, and also I prepared some video for Tango and also some interview preparation, VRE and VRO, and Vsphere plus latest one. All our concepts I covered in the other playlist. You can just go through those playlists to review these concepts, VRA, VRO, NSXT, and so on. Okay, and some any remaining concepts I will cover in the coming sessions. Okay, and if you are watching this video first time, please do subscribe to my channel, and who are already subscribed, thanks for your support. Okay, it's really encouraging me to do more on the other upcoming videos. Okay, and let's move on to the next point. What are the differences between vCenter High Availability, HA, and Microsoft Windows Server Failover Cluster? So before going to the VCHA concept, let's understand the differences between vCenter HA, cluster level HA, and Microsoft Failover Cluster. Okay, the difference is if you want to deploy a VCHA, vCenter High Availability feature, it is easy to deploy. And vSphere HA, it's a cluster feature that is also easy to enable. But Windows Server Failover Cluster is not like a straight away procedure. We need to set up your two servers, configure a shared storage, and also prepare a quorum disk. There will be a configuration require some additional steps. So that's the reason it's not easy to deploy. But HA and VCHA are like a very simple options in our vCenter level. And the shared storage requirement, normally VCHA doesn't require any shared storage. And but vSphere HA, if we want to configure vSphere HA and Microsoft failover clustering, it require a shared storage. And no reliance on physical mode RDMs. If you want to configure a raw device mapping, there will be no reliance on VCHA and vCenter level cluster HA feature also, but Microsoft it depends on RDMs and managed by vSphere client. Even if you want to manage VCHA, it's easy management to vSphere client, and vCenter HA is like a also it's a cluster feature and it is not like a easy management. And if you want to manage by vSphere client means let me connect to our lab system. Suppose in our vCenter level, let's log into the vCenter. If you go to the cluster under data center, select the cluster, right click here, go to the settings, or here you can see the vSphere availability HA option. Currently HA is in a turn off state. Just click on edit and enable the HA, but only condition for HA is it require a shared storage. Similarly, if you want to enable a vCenter HA feature, just go to the vCenter top level hierarchy, right side configure tab. Under configure tab, under settings, you can look for a vCenter HA. Here you can set up the vCenter HA. That means the configuration is pretty simple, but it doesn't require any shared storage. It doesn't require any RDM, and we can straight away go to the vCenter. We can connect to vCenter using vSphere client, go to the configuration tab, VCHA, and set up the vCenter HA. This is a point I'm highlighting here. So managed by vSphere client and configuration is straight away procedure for both VCHA and HA feature. But failover cluster is not like that. We have to log into individual Windows servers and we can do the configuration part. And another point, failover across vSphere clusters. So failover across vSphere clusters here is among the vSphere clusters, we can do VCHA, but in the vSphere HA feature is related to specific to one cluster only. And VCHA, you can configure either within a one vCenter, create VCHA nodes, multiple clusters. That is one method. Another method, VCHA, you can configure among the multiple sites also. You can prepare one vCenter is in a primary site, another vCenter is in secondary site, and another vCenter is in a witness site. Okay, that portion I will explain in the next slide. And another point is cross DC failover without storage replication. It's possible only with vCenter high availability. But if you want to do this vCenter high availability configuration, there is some prerequisites. So let's understand the prerequisites now. What are the vCenter HA requirements? So vCenter HA requirements involves ESXi. If you want to configure VCHA, a minimum of 3 ESXi host is recommended. But if you want to test on one ESX for testing purpose, you can test on one ESX. But recommendation from VMware is minimally we should have 3 ESXi hosts to configure vCenter high availability. And vCenter server appliance. This vCenter server appliance deployment size minimally you can configure a small size or a larger size is required to meet RTO. Okay, and enough disk space to collect and store support bundles for 3 nodes on the active node, and the cluster must be enabled with a HA and DRS switches. And the network connectivity, network latency between 3 nodes must be less than 10 milliseconds, and also the VCHA network must be different subnet than the management network. This is the one recommendation from VMware. And the licensing, a single vCenter standard license is enough to configure a vCenter HA. Okay, so now let's try to understand the vCenter high availability architecture. So within this high availability architecture, one main concept is first we need to ready with the one vCenter server. But the key concept here is the first deployed vCenter server is considered as a active node, and it requires to configure a 2 NIC cards. One NIC card is Ethernet 0 and second NIC card is Ethernet 1. You can use terminology Ethernet 0 or VMNIC 1, VMNIC 2. Any terminology we can use. But the recommendation to configure VCHA is each vCenter must have a 2 NIC cards. Okay, that is a recommendation. Excuse me. Sorry. So one vCenter must have a two interfaces, Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. And the second thing is within our vCenter server, as we know, when we log into our lab system, we have a option to configure a VCHA. When you click on setup VCHA, we can start configuring the management vCenter IP address and our port number, username and password. When you click on next, this one, let's say I don't have single sign on. When you click on next, it will start showing you to configure and deploy another vCenter server. That point I'm explaining now. By default, active node, then we need to configure a passive node and witness node. But how do you configure is it required, but for one vCenter server, we can manage through vSphere client. Using vSphere client, connect to the Ethernet 0 via management IP, and then we have to configure a Ethernet 1 IP. Once we configure Ethernet 1 IP, it allows you to set up vCenter high availability feature. That feature option we just now verified. Once you enable set up the VCHA, it will start deploying a VCSA passive node. We no need to do manually. This when you enable setup option, it will automatically provision a VCSA passive node. But passive node also comes with a two NIC cards, Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. Once the passive node deployment is completed, we have to deploy the other node, that is witness node. And witness node is acts like a witness only. It's the same like in our Windows cluster, we have a quorum concept. Same way, our witness node is like a quorum disk. This witness node also have a two NIC cards, but in general, Ethernet 0 is disabled state and Ethernet 1 should be enable state. As we mentioned in the pre-requirements, Ethernet, whatever the NIC card additionally we are adding, that additional NIC card, it's not equivalent to the management network. As per VMware recommendation, we should maintain a different subnet, and this is like a private network. This Ethernet 1 connection is private network. Okay, once we set up this one, and then our database and file replication is start happening from our active node to passive node. Okay, this replication is like a continuous process, and our vCenter passive node also have a connection to vSphere client, but this is not a direct active connection, it's a standby connection only. But normally our users, application users and vSphere administrator connecting the vSphere client always to the active node only. But when you want to connect to the passive node, in case of active node is down, immediately we can connect to the passive node. But how it will decide active and passive and all, that is taken care by witness node. Okay, let's the same diagram we can also observe from our vCenter server. Go to the configure tab, VCHA, you can see. To connect our vCenter server, we are connecting to active node using vSphere client. And then once you start setup VCHA, it will help you to set up the witness node and passive node. And remember that each node, vCenter node have a two NIC codes, NIC 0, NIC 1. We can also call it as Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1. And terminology wise, you can use any terminology. And this both active and passive node will connect it to private network, that is nothing but a vCenter HA network. And within our vCenter node, our NIC 0 is in a disabled state. Usually we can access active node only, but in case of active node is down, immediately it will switch over to the passive node. Passive node is acts as a active node. That is the importance of vCenter HA concept. Suppose if we do not set up a vCenter HA, what will happen? Today's introduction, we talk about vCenter restoration. If your vCenter is down, we can restore. But if you have a VCHA concept, in case of vCenter is down, we no need to wait for you until the restoration complete. Within few minutes, within fraction of seconds, immediately we can connect to the passive node. That is how we can configure the VCHA. And to reduce your impact on your vCenter server, it's recommended to configure vCenter high availability feature. Okay, let's understand the description. vCenter high availability protects VCSA against both hardware and software failures. Correct. And another point, VCHA forms a cluster of nodes. First one is active node. Active node means runs the active vCenter server appliance instance. And passive node. Passive node means automatically takes over the role of active node if a failover occurs. Okay, when an active node is fail, immediately it will take over the active node role. And witness node provides a quorum to protect against a split brain situation. Okay, it's like a evidence or observer between the active and passive node. And another point is VCHA is a built into the vCenter server appliance and is included with standard license. So we no need any additional licenses for VCHA. It's a default included in vCenter standard license. Okay, and another point, with VCHA, we can recover quickly from a vCenter server failure using automated failover. vCenter failover occurs with minimal downtime. That is the key point here. Okay, so hope you clear about the VCHA architecture. Now let's understand how do we troubleshoot VCHA issues. So VCHA troubleshooting scenarios are, we have a mainly three scenarios. Let's understand the scenario one. VCHA active node failure. Suppose our active node is fail. When active node is fail, if the active node fail means the passive node take over the role of active node, the cluster is running in a degraded state. When the cluster is running in a degraded state means we need to take the responsibility to bring up the VCHA active node. Sometime you can bring up VCHA active node by restarting service, or as we discussed today, we can restore from the backup. This is the two methods. Any one method is relevant. And another point, the active node is required to return to the cluster to a healthy state. This is also we should take care in a scenario one. And second scenario, VCHA passive node is failure. Passive node means the second passive node is fail. When the passive node is fail, the active node continues to operate normally. However, the cluster is running in a degraded state. So when it is in a degraded state, it is our responsibility to bring up the passive node. So passive node is required to return to the cluster to a healthy state. Okay. And the third scenario, VCHA witness node failure. When your witness node is fail, there is a chance of either software failure or hardware failure. When the witness node is fail, the active node continues to operate normally. However, the cluster is running in a degraded state. So again, our responsibility, witness is required to return to the cluster to a healthy state. Okay, so this is the three troubleshooting scenarios in VCHA. Okay, and another one, what are the VCHA cluster modes of operation? What is the main cluster operations I can perform in a VCHA? There are in general three modes of operations. One is enable VCHA. That is usually we do enabling the VCHA. When you enable HA, automatic failover option is available, and manual failover also we can do, and replication is happening every few seconds. The same point we can see from the screenshot. Replication between the active, passive, and witness node is enabled when we enable a vCenter HA feature. And automatic failover will occur if the active node fails while the vCenter HA cluster is in healthy state. Okay, and maintenance, suppose if you want to perform some maintenance on your vcenter hda, like if you want to renew your vcenter ssl certificates, that is one example. Or if you want to do a patching on our vcenter level, that is also one example. During that time we need to place our vcenter hda in a maintenance mode. When you place the vcenter hda in a maintenance mode, automatic failover facility is not available, and manual failover is available, and replication is still available. And replication between active and passive witness node is enabled, but automatic failover is disabled. The active node continues to run normally even if the passive and witness nodes both are unavailable. Okay, and third option is disable VCHA. When you want to disable VCHA, both replication and automatic failovers are disabled, and vCenter HA configuration is preserved. In general, when you are renewing the vCenter level SSL certificates, secure certificates, it requires from the VMware recommendation is disable VCHA before doing the SSL certificate renewal. So the procedure is like first disable VCHA and also place the maintenance mode and perform the SSL certificate renewal. Even once you disable also maintenance mode is doesn't matter. The recommendation is disable VCHA and do your SSL certificate renewal. And maintenance mode option, it's recommended to do when you're performing vCenter server patching or upgrade scenarios. Okay, clear? Now, another key point is how do we validate the VCHA configuration? How do we validate means how we verifying the health status of VCHA? Normally, it's always make sure that VCHA health status should be good. You can verify from WAMI page or Vsphere client page. Make sure that active, passive, all the nodes should be up, and PostgreSQL replication mode is synchronized, and application configuration is in sync, state is in sync, and the SQLite DB also in sync. When you meet all this requirement, your vCenter health status is healthy state. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of a vCenter HA? The vCenter HA also have some key benefits. Those benefits are vCenter appliance is made more resilient, and protection against hardware, host, and application failures is provided, and recovery occurs in minutes end-to-end downtime. Now, you can imagine if you plan for a restoration instead of going for a single host vCenter restoration, this is the best practice to implement in a VCHA when you're using infrastructure sizes medium, large organization. Okay, and active passive architecture provides transparent failover. So recovery point objective is means no data loss, and recovery time objective means within minutes only we can recover our vCenter server. And one click automated high availability setup. Yes, the setup is very simple. Log into vSphere client and enable the VCHA. And nodes can be geographically distant. Even VMware given a facility like you can deploy primary vCenter on site A, secondary vCenter on secondary means passive vCenter is in site B, and witness node on site C. That option also available, but only condition is geographical distance less than 10 milliseconds latency, and no shared storage is required as we know, and no third-party technologies are required. It is within default vCenter feature only. We don't need any of the external tools also. Okay. So finally, what is the vCenter deep dive key takeaways? So today we focused on the vCenter server uses Photon operating system and PostgreSQL database. This point we covered in our previous session, and we use vSphere client to connect to vCenter and manage vCenter inventory objects. This point also we are aware, and we require some specific permission account like application user separate account we have to create in Active Directory, and similarly the same Active Directory account we have to provide the permissions in vCenter level. So permissions defined in vCenter gives one user or group a role. Role means set of privileges for a selected object, and we can use WAMI, vSphere appliance management interface, or vCenter server appliance management interface to monitor appliance resource use and perform a backup of the appliance. This option we verified today. And high availability is an important characteristic for many VMware and third-party solution that depend on vCenter server as the primary management platform. Hope you understand this point. Primary management platform. vCenter is the primary management platform, and SDDC troubleshooting scenarios. We talk about the 10 troubleshooting scenarios. Those all are the important scenarios. Okay. And VCHA is built into the vCenter server appliance and protects the appliance from both hardware and software failures. These are the key takeaways for today. And the high level diagram is, this is the diagram for VCHA. Okay. This is the architectural diagram. So uh, you can just focus on these scenarios now, and any additional concepts like VCHA command line troubleshooting and also the VCHA reboot procedure and all I will cover in the next session. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you. Please do view, like, share and subscribe to my channel, NAND Cloud Garage. Bye for now.